Welcome to the MFA&P podcast, episode number 6. Welcome to the show.
All right, welcome to the show. I'm really excited today. I've got an awesome guest online. But before we start, I also, I always want to say to everybody, all the veterans out there, if you are dealing with any type of a crisis, or you may feel like you are going through some stuff and you need some help, please reach out to the Veterans Crisis Line. The phone number is 1-800-273-8255. You can also text them at 838-255, and somebody will get back to you right away. Even if you're a family member and you've got somebody who thinks, or you think that might need some help, give them a call. That's what they're there for. With everything that's going on in the world right now, happening in Afghanistan, I'm sure there's a lot of emotion and a lot of people upset. So, hey, man, if you need help, give them a call. And like I always say, if you're out here and you're doing all right and you're feeling better about your life and you're a veteran, reach out to your brothers and sisters because they need the help, man. You can't help everybody, but the ones that you're close to, you might be able to help out. So with that being said, I'm Joe Peebles. I'm your host, and welcome to the show. Today is episode 6. I'm pretty stoked because this will be our first YouTube. And man, we got a freaking shark on the show today. I met Andy Nixon trying to get on his app. And so he's also a co-host of a podcast called Jet Blast Podcast. And I was lucky to be a guest on there. And I really like Andy, what he's doing. He's got a lot of vision. He's finally innovating the maintenance industry, finally in 2020, 2021, 2019. He's been at it for a while. Pretty inspiring person, great story. And would love to introduce everybody to Andy Nixon. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here and be your first guest, I guess. And
guest number one.
That's a first for me. So I love what you're doing so far. I've listened to the other podcasts, and I think it's cool. I think it's definitely needed to just be yourself, in business aviation and not have to conform to all the bullshit stuffiness and fit inside the box. So I love it, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you, man. And likewise, if you guys don't know, if you guys haven't heard the Jet Blast podcast, the Jet Blast podcast is phenomenal. There's a lot of good information. The co-host on there, correct me if I'm wrong, it's Nathan Winkle and Lee Brewster, correct?
Correct.
Who are also, me personally, man, I feel like you guys are titans in the industry. And I don't know how you feel about that, but what you're doing in the industry, which we will get into, man, I'm super excited about it because I always felt like it was just me out here feeling like this, and to hear you guys and the guests that you guys bring on, it's really motivating, man, in all honesty. And it's really like it's inspiring, to have these guys on that have gone through stuff in their life. You guys don't just talk about aviation, which I like. You talk about life too, and being good people, good stewards, and I love it, man. But just for our listeners and also myself, man, because I really don't know much about you, other than what I've stalked you on LinkedIn with, trying to find out that information. Dude, I would really love to get into the nitty gritty with you, man. But maybe let us know, how you grew up and what got you into aviation, man.
Yeah, sure. So I was fortunate to I grew up in Michigan, and I came from a long line of aviators. So my great grandpa started a company called Myers Aircraft Company with Al Myers, and they it's pretty cool. The more research I've done and the more stories that I've heard, him and Al worked at Waco actually over in Romulus back in the day in the 30s, and they were barnstorming like on the weekends. That was like their hobby. So they'd fly around and buzz everybody and take people for rides. And so they The catalyst was that every single winter they would have to recover the fuselage of the Waco biplane because there would be oil, residue that would leak on it. And after a whole summer of screwing around, then, they would have to do that. So they said, well, shit, we should build a metal fuselage biplane. And so that's how the whole thing started with the Myers OTW, which it's pretty cool. It was part of the training, one of the training aircraft for the Army Air Corps back then.
Wow.
And so they had this biplane that went 100 miles an hour with the radial engine on it. And I actually have the prop down in my basement where I do my artwork, that they built the prop and had to fly the freaking plane all the way to Cuba from Michigan in order to prove it to the Army Air Corps and like go through the test runs. They had like Waco down there and Stearman and this thing. And so started with that. And lo and behold, they had 5 sons. So my great uncles and my grandfather, and they were all pilots, corporate, cargo, all that stuff. And they did other stuff, obviously. But so I grew up starting when I was, 2, I was flying with my grandpa, and I just kind of stuck with it and knew that I was going to do something in aviation. I went to college for aviation. Then I moved to the Caribbean because I raced sailboats a lot, and I became a sailmaker. So I gave up on aviation to go sit behind a sewing machine and go out on boats. And I was racing down there and did the circuit on the islands and, partied my face off and all that stuff after college. And then I came back and actually got into aviation, into corporate aviation. I was selling cars in Toledo, Ohio, selling new Kias, which if anybody's done car sales, it teaches you a lot. It's a lot of type A personalities. We had good bosses, and it was like a fucking rat race of trying to make money and cut each other's throat and stab each other in the back and stuff. But ended up having a guy come in that said, my boss is looking for a sales guy at National Flight Services in Toledo. And I said, I don't know anything about them. I don't really know much about corporate aviation yet. And so that's how I got started in it. And then from there, I did, I was the director of sales and marketing for Toledo Jet Center, which was they used to be a citation service center until the recession in 2008. And 2009, they closed, and then they were bought by a private individual. So I got involved in the jet side instead of just the turboprop side. And that's when everything came about for MRO Insider. And my wife and I kind of started plotting how we would do that, what it would look like to develop it, what it would cost. And one dumb decision led to another. And we sold the house, took the equity, started developing the platform, signed up our first customers to pay to get to MBAA for the first time. We had a booth back by the shitter at MBAA, literally. And there was a big, huge white pole on the other side of us, so nobody could see us. So I'm like, well, this fucking sucks. But so that was our first experience. And it just kind of grew to there. Now we're still kicking it. I'm a private pilot. I have my own plane. I have 2. I have a 1947 Cessna 120 tail dragger that's polished aluminum. Yeah. And so that's low and slow. And then of course I have the Myers 200 that most people, I think more people follow the Myers than they do me on LinkedIn and stuff, but it's pretty cool.
It's a cool tool.
It's fun.
I've seen it. I've actually seen it online. I'm like, oh man, I want to go on that thing. That's pretty cool.
Dude, it gets me around. It was this one was actually built by my great grandpa in Tecumseh still, and my grandpa actually worked there and built it as well. And it was owned by Tom Monahan that started Domino's Pizza in Michigan, hence the blue color, and the tail number is still DP for Domino's Pizza. So that was his little sled to go back and forth to his up north house. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. I guess the one thing I left out is I worked right when I was graduating college. I took a sign-on bonus and $24,000 a year salary to go work at AvFuel, and I sat in a cubicle for about 3 months and said nope. And then that is what led to me going to the Caribbean and doing the sailing thing, because I couldn't handle the office thing. So it's I still can't, but I try to do my best.
Well, it just sounds like you're, a hellraiser. In all honesty, it's like, I don't want to do this. I'm out. which is actually pretty cool, man. I don't know many people who just up and rolled out, and went to the Caribbean. So that's pretty cool, man. Racing sailboats. My wife would love you. She'd probably want to talk to you a little bit, because she loves sailboats. And I always thought that was pretty cool, man. So where did you race, man? Did you race just through the Caribbean, or did you?
Yeah, so I lived on an island called St. Martin, which is half Dutch and half French, and so I worked for North Sails, which is like the biggest sail maker in the world now. And I was on a 36.5-foot sailboat. I did the foredeck, which is the guy on the very front of the boat that would, change the front sails out and do all that stuff and jump down the hatch and all that fun stuff. So I did, we did the Heineken Regatta, which we won on St. Martin. There's like 280 boats. It's freaking crazy.
Wow.
Corporate jets, like galore. All these guys are flying their crews in. Like,
Yeah.
that's when I really, I saw corporate aviation and like the purpose of it. So I did that. We did St. Croix. Did Culebra, which is a little island right off of Puerto Rico. It's actually where like the Puerto Ricans go for their vacations and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So I did a regatta there. I did one in St. Thomas. I did one in Tortola. And then I did another one on Anguilla, which is the island next to St. Martin. And then I did the deliveries as well with the owner. So the owner and I would roll out of St. Martin at like 5 o'clock at night and sail overnight to like St. Croix, just the two of us, to move the boat and get it ready for, the next week of racing and stuff. So I got my first like open ocean kind of stuff as well while I was down there. So I was like shitting my pants trying to do that, because my experience is small boats. Like I've always done one design sailing, which is just like 15 to 24 foot sailboats with 2 or 3 people and close quarters racing. So getting on the big boat stuff was it was pretty intense, but it was a good time.
I just got a question. Do you stay busy on that boat like pretty much the whole time you're going? Is there like any downtime whatsoever, or are you just like you're going?
Yeah. So in like during the race, I'm busy I'd always be busy at the start because I'd be up on the front to make sure we're not going over the starting line early and there's not boats that are sneaking around us. And then once the race started, it's pretty boring on a big boat because you're pretty much hanging over the side of the rail to keep the boat flat. So there's like 7 of us that are just like, they call it taco hiking, because you're like bent over at the waist and you got the strap going around you. And, but there's a couple moments of, oh shit, it's like flying to me. I mean, it's just like flying. It's like taking off and landing are intense, and the rest of it, you're sitting there like shield with the sun on your forehead, So that's it's a good time, man. I love sailing. I taught kids to sail. I taught adults to sail. It was kind of something I really enjoyed doing until I started discovering more about skin cancer and other things and cataracts and how bad everything gets when you spend all your time out there.
That's a whole different show.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's crazy. I didn't know that about you. I guess it's really intriguing my interest. We'll have to talk about that offline.
Yeah, for sure.
So wow, man, you got a pretty crazy history, man.
Weird fucking life.
Well, hey, that's life, right? I mean, I think we all go through that shit. So you sold cars, you started flying at 2. You got 5 uncles, is that right? Is that 5?
Yeah, I got 4 great uncles and then my grandfather. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, man, that's all aviation history. That's pretty awesome. Now, with what year did you start talking about? We're going to get into the MRO Insider app now. What year did you and your wife start deciding, hey, maybe you started talking about maybe we should do this? What sparked that interest really, and what year was that?
So let's see. We started talking about it in 2016 and started developing it. We had a developer locally in 2017. And I was fortunate. My wife's father he was a developer, and he had done a medical billing company that he had sold for back in 2008, I guess he sold it. And so he had a good background in like the basics of development and how much of a pain in the ass it was. And so we we had some good guidance. And our first MBAA was 2017 in October. And that's when Lindsay and I stumbled in there and, you know, had the place by the shitter and all that. So the reason to do it, that I tell everybody, really, it was not to get rich. It was not to be an entrepreneur. It was nothing like that. It was the fact that when I was at Toledo Jet, you know, bless their hearts, they have a lot of experience because they had retained all these people from Cessna, and they are now privately working for Toledo Jet. And we did really good work on citations. That was like our thing. We were like the master of citations, the 10s. You know, we did, you know, half our revenue practically was NetJets. So they trusted us. We did a lot of stuff for them, and FlexJet and some of these other places. And being the sales and marketing guy, I was the only one. And so I'm like, well, how am I going to market against, you know, we have Duncan over in Battle Creek and Constant over in Cleveland and the Citation Service Center in Milwaukee. And so we just couldn't compete without having, we would need hundreds of thousands of dollars in marketing. You know, that's what these guys spend. They do these surveys in AIN and they do these, all this other shit. And, you know, a print ad now in aviation is like 12 grand for a 1-page thing in like DOM magazine or something per month. Yeah. And so we just couldn't afford it. And so that was kind of where, you know, how could I level the playing field without being a socialist and just give these other shops visibility somehow and get them in front of customers that maybe they wouldn't be able to get in front of without us. And so that's how the whole thing started on the scheduled side. And so that's what we did initially. And then we were fortunate, before we launched it, I met with a cool guy that I still stay in contact with named Dave Mikowski, who is now he's the VP of maintenance for Wheels Up / Gamma. And before that, I think he spent like 15 years at NetJets and he was a higher up there. And so I met with him and we met at a Bob Evans in between Ann Arbor and Columbus, Ohio, and showed it to him. And he thought it was the cat's ass. And he said, hey, just put this on your radar that AOG is like the biggest heartache. It's starting to get harder and harder. And so 2017, we started this, got the scheduled stuff going, had like a Rolodex, glorified Rolodex kind of a thing for AOG based on where you were located. And then last year in 2020, July 1st, we launched the app, which then started picking up the location of the app holder and allowed it to, you know, I tell people it's like a mixture of Angie's List for scheduled stuff and Uber for AOG and detailing and ground service equipment. So, you know, now the app is pinging out within 300 miles of where that aircraft is broke down. And then we really saw like an uptick in users. I mean, we passed 2,000 registered tail numbers now in the US. And I think now we've got about 200 locations as far as detailers, AOG people, and brick and mortar places around the world. And so, yeah, that was really about it. I mean, I was just tired of the bigger shops. They want us to go away. And I'm sure I can talk about that openly on the podcast. I mean, we've heard people say internally that they're not allowed to mention MRO Insider in sales meetings anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, they're being silenced, and we don't really know why. I mean, we do know why. We know why because they like to put fine print, and they don't. We had one of them tell us, we don't like what you're doing because you're commoditizing aircraft maintenance. I said, well, yeah, no shit. That's what everybody does in everything now, is that the consumer is not retarded and blind. They are able to access this information at their fingertip, and they should be able to compare the pricing and read the reviews about Joe Peebles. Like, you don't have to call Westar or Duncan to get good service or Textron. Like, Joe Peebles can probably do it better, faster, more honest, more transparent. And that was kind of like our driving force behind it was, you know, let's help out all these shops. And so that's kind of just, you know, what we've been doing. And it's the, you know, the more that we could do as far as making I don't know, how do you say it's a network, but, you know, we want our shops to feel like we're all on the same team, and together we are big enough to compete with these, you know, the 3 or 4 giant MROs out there like Standard Aero and whatnot. So combined, we have that ability. And now, in the last week, we announced we hired Sarah Polari, who's a recruiter. And so that was something that, people are scratching their heads. Well, I get 12 job descriptions emailed to me from our shops hey, do you know anybody? Can you help me? Well, no, but if I do, then I pass the resumes. I'm sure you've seen maybe some of those come across that I'll do it to help out because I don't have a ton of time to do it. But now Sarah can do it. And so now Sarah's philosophy, which is great, is the same as ours, is, hey, we'll put our arm around you and we're there and we want to be part of your team and a teammate to help you find the right person. Not just you pay us and we send you crappy resumes that are never going to get hired and they don't fit in with your culture and things like that. So that's kind of been our MO now, which, seems to be working out. We're growing slow and steady. We've done it a lot with, Lindsay and I personally guaranteed a shit ton of loans to get it going because the development is everything with an app-based thing, right? We can't just sit there, unfortunately, and kind of like hope that stuff happens. But we've been able to retain 100% ownership in the company. We haven't gone out to Wall Street or to any fancy venture capitalists or vulture capitalists, as they call them. We have 100% control, and our focus is to make business aviation better as a whole. And when I leave this world, that I hope that mission has been accomplished by our team.
Awesome. Yeah, man, that's that almost falls in line with my values and that's why I wanted you on the show as my first guest, man, because I think that when the vision changes, in all honesty, man, when the vision changed from I want to be a successful business person or I want to be a successful entrepreneur, when my mission changed to I want to help others, in all honesty, I want other people to be successful too. And I want to build these relationships with these people and help them change their lives. And that's when my business really picked up, in all honesty. And really, that's when, like for my customers and stuff like that, like they know that they're my top priority, and I'm completely transparent with them. But yeah, man, the app is something. When I went out and met all these people, I live in Atlanta, and I would literally walk into hangars with resumes, every freaking hangar that I had. And I had 2 jobs at the time, and I was just trying to make ends meet. They were both aviation jobs. One was an hour south, one was an hour north, and I was trying to land one close to me to all 3 at the same time. But really, the only way that you could do that is walk around and shake people's hands. And, nobody responds to emails. We're very, even though we work on the most technologically advanced aircraft on the planet, we're still using snail mail, and, just stuff that doesn't make sense. And in fact, I think the first time me and you talked, I was like, dude, I think I told you, and I don't know if you remember this, but I was like, I was in the middle of developing an app.
Oh yeah.
And it was an AOG app, same thing. And one night I had just talked to 2 or 3 different vendors in Silicon Valley for the development, and they were, boasting 45 to 60 grand down, to start the whole process. And I was like, man, where am I supposed to find that money? But I was working it, man. I was really getting close to, I guess, pulling the trigger on it. And I was on LinkedIn one night and I saw MRO Insider app and my heart sunk, man. I was like, oh, I'm not gonna lie. I was so upset. And for a couple of days, man, it really hit me. But, I had a couple things going on. The MRO, my app was like, something that I had kind of thought about, but really not pushed hard on. And really, in all honesty, I was just excited after about a week or so, of kicking myself in the ass and like, oh, you move too slow, or type stuff. I just really got excited, man. I was like, dude, this guy is cool. These guys are making this thing happen. Now I don't have to do it. And I can just continue doing what I'm doing. And maybe, I don't know, there's always more than one thing for, like, I mean, you've got Home Advisor. What's the other apps they got? I mean, there's like 50 different apps. And, people just go with what they feel works
Mhm.
for them. In all honesty, like Andy, you're not gonna be able to supply what every customer needs. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And really, me personally, I don't want everybody's needs. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to work with customers that respect the work that we do, that appreciate an honest mechanic and an honest company. And if you don't, man, I've hung up on people that call me. I turned down a Global 6000 last week because the dude, I didn't like him.
Yeah.
And he was just super like, oh, you got your own .com, huh? Oh, you have a business license, huh? And I was like, you know what? You can call somebody who's going to deal with this because I don't want to deal with it. And I deal with customers that are like us, just people. I don't think I cater to those customers if I have to, but really the best thing I like about being a business owner is I can tell them I don't want to work with you, and I would rather spend my time dealing with a customer that understands the situation, that is grateful for me to be there. And even though stuff goes wrong sometimes, not everything works out perfect.
Mhm.
They're understanding. They know we might have disagreements or something like that, but we can work through it. And with my transparency and stuff like that, it works well.
Mhm.
But yeah, the app coming into play. So we've got your app provides the customer with a huge sense of security.
Mhm.
That's a huge deal. And then on the flip side, you got guys out there like me who have struggled for the past 5 years building a network, uh, you know, um, that could really benefit from this. So if you're out there and you're a mechanic and you've got a small shop, at a small little rinky-dink airport, and you're having trouble, man, maybe look at this app because if you're available, I mean, these guys will put you on there. Anything with a 300-mile radius of you, it's going to show up on your phone, and you can bid. If you don't travel, cool, but you travel, you don't, it doesn't matter. Just put all your information on there. You can upload all your documents onto this program, and the customer can see all that information before they even talk to you. And
Mhm.
that tool right there, them not having to call 50 people and figure all this information out is huge, man. So that's why I feel like you've innovated the industry because nobody's done this, right?
Right.
which is crazy because it's so late. It seems like it's so late, but I mean, dude, kudos to you and your wife for seeing that. I am super excited to see where you guys go. But yeah,
Yeah. We'll
man.
see. I mean, it, it's tough because I mean, Jesus, the first year we started, right? We had like 2 airplanes on there, literally. Well, we had the wheels up fleet. I guess that was like our first big score. And, having the patience, and our mentor, who my cousin actually is our mentor, and he's built a very successful business, huge compared to where we would ever end up. But, he's like, he keeps telling me every time I talk to him that, there's a reason they call patience a virtue. There's a reason they call patience a virtue. Like, you have to be patient and get this thing, the flywheel's moving now. And, I tell people, like, look, the price that we're charging you, because they'll bitch about that. I'm like, dude, if you get one job a year, you should be able to pay for this. And that is our goal right now. I said, trust me, if you don't have to have salespeople, it's going to cost a lot more when we get to that critical mass stage, right? But it's just being patient and understand that we're in the kitchen right now building this thing out, and to get it going. But it's like what you mentioned with the smaller providers and the smaller shops is like the people we talk to, and we're fortunate because we're a third party, non-denominational, and if I go to FlexJet or if I go talk to EJM or Priester or whoever it is, they'll tell me, like, man, I wish that you had more of these smaller guys, because we sometimes just want to pay somebody to go look at it and tell us what it needs. Oh, hey, it needs a new inner left main wheel. Perfect. Here's your check. And then they can handle it from there. They can package it, send it out, have one of their guys go out and change it, whatever. Or it's, hey, there's a static wick that's broken. I mean, it's not like these crazy jobs that some of these guys, I think they get intimidated. Like they're going to have to like remove an engine from a Gulfstream. That's just not the case. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like dumbest things ever that will keep somebody from being able to generate revenue on a trip, right? And you know that the bathroom door doesn't close. Oh, well, we can't MEL that, so now we're stuck because the bathroom door won't close. You know,
and, you know, they just need somebody out, eyes on the ground. You know,
exactly. That's it.
Yeah, and if you can do that, then do it. You know, like why not? It's easy stuff. Like when I first got into AOG, I thought the same thing, man. I want to, you know, I came from heavy inspections, so we're ripping tails off of Gulf Streams, doing 594 cracks, putting them back together, taking engines off, doing 12,000 landings, inspections, ripping all the gears out, taking them all the way apart, put them back on. And this is what I thought AOG was going to be, you know. In fact, I started doing AOG in the military, working on helicopters, man. That was one of my jobs. We were
Nice.
fast action. They called it the fart truck. It's fast action reaction truck. And anything that went down on the East Coast, we'd hop in the fart truck and haul ass up to there. And, you know, if a helicopter crashed in the woods or something, we'd have to freaking chop down trees and drive through the woods and pick them up and put them on a freaking lowboy and drive them out, you know, and bring them back to the shop. So it was always pretty nuts. That's crazy AOG. That's not, you know, your typical
not standard
corporate aviation AOG, right? You know, yeah, a lot of the calls I get, man, in all honesty, I do a lot of vendors now. Got a lot of guys that are calling me all the time, and a lot of them, for the most part, are just wanting somebody to come and take a look at a light bulb, or just want somebody to come in, because the 130. If you don't understand 135 operators, guys, 135 operators run on incredibly strict rules, and there's no leniency. You can either defer it or not, and if you can't defer it, even though it's a light bulb, the light bulb's got to get changed. And that's really the truth of the game. And these guys can't make money on that airplane because there's a little 20-cent light bulb that's out, you know, and they need help. And if you can fight your way out of a wet paper bag, you could probably figure out a light bulb on a citation. You know, it's not difficult, but yeah, man, you're right. These guys, they just want honesty, man, and honesty, and they just want people to show up. And that's the crazy part, is a lot of people just don't want to.
Correct.
I'm working with a customer now, and we're talking about the big bad guys, right? I called them. I'm not going to name the manufacturer, but I called the manufacturer and requested support because we need some tooling. And they're like, "Oh yeah, we'll help you out. Are you a customer?" I'm like, "No, I'm a vendor." And they're like, "Oh, so you're a third-party vendor?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, we don't help vendors." You know, I'm right across the flat line from the manufacturer. They're like, it's me on a ramp. There's an active runway, and then they're right across the runway, and they have to set together a road trip. But I have to quit working on it for them to come out. And so, you know, I let my customer know, "Hey man, this is what's going on." And I mean, they're livid about it because they need their aircraft. They're not livid with me about it. They're livid with the manufacturer for not supporting their aircraft. So what we've done is, what we're doing is, I'm closing up the airplane and I'm leaving so that the manufacturer come over and do what they need to do to help these guys out. And I have no problem with that. You know what I'm saying? I just want the customer to get their airplane back.
Right.
And, you know, and up front, I let them know, "Hey man, this might turn into a much bigger thing. Two power failures on one aircraft, both sides. That's a huge deal. That's a big fail, and it's very uncommon, right? You don't usually have both sides failing. So I want the manufacturer there. You know, they need to figure out what's going on there. But yeah, man, I can go on and on about this type of stuff. But
they're the big giants, and the 10-pound gorilla in the room, and I think eventually it's going to change, and I think you're seeing it a little bit more. But you know, again, like the aircraft owners did not get to the point of owning these aircraft by being idiots, and so they take that stuff into account, and they're like, "Well, shit, every time I need support, they always do this or that, so I'm going to go ahead and go over to this manufacturer when I buy my next plane." And if the manufacturers don't think that, they really need to get their head out of their ass if they don't understand that that's what's going to happen, you know? So it's, interesting times for sure.
Yeah, for sure, man. So I want to talk to you a little bit about your past coming up into this. I mean, I know you did the racing. You've been flying a lot. You're selling cars, which selling cars, anybody in sales, uh, sales is hard, man. It's very uncomfortable. You're up in there. You know, you really got to train yourself. It's an acquired skill. It's not something you just jump into. Um, and moving back beyond that, I was on your podcast the other day, and something that surprised me that you said, and I think that my listeners would benefit from this, man, is you had talked about your sobriety,
Hmm.
and you had talked about coming from what you were, and I didn't know. It really took me off. It took it. It kind of it didn't put me off. That's not the word. It just kind of took me off guard. Like I didn't expect that, right? Because you seem very well put together, right? You seem like very focused and vision, and I think that people think that, you know, they see people that are out here doing stuff, and they think, man, these guys are perfect, or these guys are, you know, they've had their whole lives together. Like, I mean, you had a fantastic, like what we talked about earlier, you know, your great grandfather, your grandfather, your whole family being in aviation, you know, you doing the racing boats and all that stuff, but no, nobody saw the trouble, right? Everybody just
Hmm.
sees the cool stuff,
Right.
and nobody understand. Oh, I don't say nobody, but a lot of people just think that, oh, that's life is all good, right? It's all
Hmm.
fantastic and all perfect. But me as a mechanic, I know I've dealt with a bunch of people that also did the same thing, and I've dealt with it. So I would like to bring that up, man, and maybe we could talk about that. And if you're out there listening, man, and you're going through some issues like this, I hope that Andy's story can really help you out. So you know, when did you realize that you had an issue, had a problem with with it?
Well, you know, it's I'm 38 years old, and so I've been sober for 2.5 years, and surprisingly for me, my journey to that point, well, I didn't drink until right before my 21st birthday. Never had a sip. I didn't use drugs, nothing. I was, you know, skateboarding a lot. Most people probably thought I was, but I was
Yeah.
not. And I kind of, it was weird because I would date girls that, you know, mattered to me, and we would get into the discussions of like, well, what would be one thing you could change? And I had two people tell me, I wish you didn't drink so much. And I was like, what are you talking about? And so it was more of like a Friday night binge session that was, you know, I was never waking up in the morning and drinking. It was like once I started, I mean, this was 2.5 years ago. I couldn't stop. So yeah, I'm going to go out for a beer. And then 8 hours later, literally, I'm still at the bar. And so, and then I would drive home. So I could have, like, you know, killed somebody, lost everything, lost my pilot's license, lost my company. There's just, you know, been in prison. There's the interesting thing I tell people is that, you know, cause I have a sponsee right now that I go pick up a couple days a week and take him to meetings and hang out with him. And, you know, the first thing that they think when they're vulnerable in that situation is that, well, you don't understand because, you do XYZ, or you have your own house, or you whatever. I'm like, dude, the only difference between you and I is that you got caught and I didn't. And I didn't kill somebody, luckily, and, you know, neither did he. But that's what happens. It's like that just stroke of luck, right? And so it's an interesting story. So I went down to Atlanta, actually, which I fucking hate Atlanta now because of this. But I was down there with my with my director of business development, Craig, who was also a helicopter mechanic in the Army. And we had been out with some customers. We had just got another shop on, and we're at MRO Americas. And we had been out, and it was, 10, 11. So we decided to roll back to the condo on the electric scooters. And so that night I had already ran into a car that was driving, and because I was trying to jump it off the curb and do tricks and all that stupid crap when I'm in my late 30s. And I was going down a hill, flying, and I looked back to see that if Craig and the other guy were behind me, and it was at night, and there was a brick missing from the sidewalk, and the scooter went into it, and like I was so hammered that I just held on to the scooter, and my face I did a chin dance off the sidewalk and knocked the bridge I had on one of my teeth out on the sidewalk. My hands were actually still on the scooter when they hit, and so it broke one of my fingers and smashed my knuckles and bruised them, and I had a scrape on the side of my face. My back was all jacked up, and like I just laid, I mean, it knocked me out. And I came to probably like 30 seconds later, and Craig is there, like, tapping me, doing his, Army medical stuff to make sure that I'm not paralyzed. And so I got in an Uber and went back to the condo. And that next day I was in so much pain. I can't even like describe it. My back, I couldn't even stand hardly. I had to crawl around in the closet to pack my bag to go back home to Detroit. And that was when I was like, all right, that's it. Like, I can't do that. I could have died. I could have been brain dead at that point. So, it took that. I came home, house was empty, wife gonna divorce me while my dog was there. So I'm sitting alone in the condo, called Craig, told him what happened, called my buddy who is now my sponsor. He's an older guy that I had, he taught me to fish and race sailboats actually. And so I called him because I knew he was sober and said, hey, can I go to a meeting with you? And him and another buddy of mine called me like 10 minutes later. And the next day I went to an AA meeting, and with my teeth missing and my face fucked up and, all that stuff. And that was it. I never drank again after that. And, I do the meeting thing. I did the 12-step thing. I'm not really huge. I really like the Buddhism thing and stuff. And so, I had to adjust to that because everybody says, well, I'm not going to do AA because it's of the God thing. So, well, it's not really what it's about. You have to believe in a higher power. And so I always tell people, like, if you believe there's anything at all out there, like, what the hell made me not kill somebody when I was drunk driving all the time? Well, something had my back. I don't care who it is. I don't care if he has long blonde hair and a six pack like Jesus, or if it's somebody else. But so yeah, that was pretty much it. And that's the story that I tell people. And I got beat down to nothing while I was still trying to build the company. And it ran in my family. So I knew that I was susceptible to getting that habit. And I just decided to cut it off. And when they tell you all that shit about, well, it's just the start now, and 30 days and 60 days goes by and a year goes by and things are only going to get better. You haven't seen anything yet. And when you first get there, you're like, whatever, it's all these drunk old guys in the basement or the Alano Club or whatever. And like, no shit, man. Like, I started playing the guitar. I got to the point now where I'm out doing open mics with my wife because she's a really good singer, songwriter, musician. So we go out and do open mics. I did a jazz class at one of the local colleges. So I'm out in these jazz concerts with my guitar, and I got the thing. I'm selling art now to people and selling my originals and stuff and going to these shows, like, all from my sobriety. And I'm like, God damn, I just never had the time because I was hungover, or I was working and traveling, and that was it. Yeah. And then I was traveling and I was partying and I was hungover and coming home. And it was just like that cycle of like, all right, where am I going to get fucked up tonight? Like, which happy hour am I going to go to? And luckily my wife, she's also sober. So I have like I have a really good support system. My mom doesn't drink. I have plenty of people that I can reach out to, and that has made like all the difference in the world. And you mentioned I talked about it. It's like, dude, I follow a couple pro skateboarders that that were my heroes when I was younger, and they're sober, and they almost lost everything. They went from multimillionaires to living on the street because of drugs and alcohol. And so just talking about it, I think, is just such a huge thing, especially in our industry. You see people at like MBAA, they go to these parties and stuff and they promote the shit out of it, right? It's like college again. And you see people that probably shouldn't go, and they do because they feel like they have to.
Yeah.
And
I was one of those guys.
Right.
Yeah.
It sucks, you know, and then pretty soon you're skating out the next day to go take a nap at lunchtime at the trade show and stuff. I mean, it's just, so the more that I think it's out in the open, and, you know, I'm not, some people say it's a touchy thing. I don't give a shit. I mean, it's just reality. It's my life. So it, you know, it is what it is. And most people know people that, you know, have struggled with it or probably wish they would go get help and stuff. And it's, you know, I'm like here to say that it's definitely possible, and your life will be like the amount of days that if I wake up and I'm tired or I didn't sleep because I was thinking about stuff, or, you know, I have the sniffles or my allergies, the first thing I think of is, well, I could be fucking hungover right now. And immediately I feel better because I had so many of those mornings that it was almost normal for me now, you know, and now it's like, dude, everything is just a million times better. And I don't say that to be like the lame, you know, the lame person that went through this stuff, but it's crazy.
Yeah. And, you know, it's not for everyone, right? I mean,
Right.
some people, you know, some people can enjoy that type of stuff. I can't. First of all, I have cluster migraines, so it's alcohol induced, which I didn't know until, and then even when I found out, I was like, well, I'll just deal with it. I'll just take Excedrin and drink, you know? So it was pretty rough. And it was hard for me to get out of that drinking, man. And especially because, you know, it's fun, dude, you know, but you know, it's fun, you know, it's never bad to let your hair down, you know, and enjoy yourself or anything like that. Especially, you know, you're around a bunch of people that are drinking. It's just when it became an excess for me. And it was, I had gone through a divorce at the time, and I lived within spitting distance of a bar. And they knew me so well that I would walk in eventually, probably a month after or so. They knew me so well that they would leave a pitcher out without a cup because I drank straight from the pitcher. I would kill 6 pitchers a night, every night, and drink with a couple friends. I mean, that was just the minimum, was the 6 pitchers. And they knew I was coming. I'd be there at freaking 5 o'clock on the dot, and I would go there until I needed to go shower and go to bed. So wake up to go run 6 miles in the morning, you know. So it was pretty crazy. I'm glad I went through it and I was able to come through it. And I talk to people about it all the time. And it's something that it's kind of scary because a lot of people feel like, oh, we're in this prestigious industry, right? And there's all these people, but I mean, you know, the drugs and alcohol are rampant too. It's an industry. It's you know, and we're full of people, and that's the human factor, right?
Right.
What we talk about, and that's the most important part of the industry. Really, is the people, right? Without the people, none of this happens.
Right.
Nothing happens. And if you're out there and you're sick, and you maybe think that you might have a problem or something like that, maybe something you need to investigate for yourself. I stand here, and Andy stands here. You know, we're both sober from that, and I'm not like, I don't push people like, oh, you shouldn't drink, you know, like whatever.
Right.
I don't care. I have a drink every once in a while. It's not a big deal. Like I don't feel like a drink for me is a problem. Some people feel like a drink for them is a problem. I don't know how you feel about that, but you know, for me personally, it's not a big deal. And I don't, you know, I'm not going to sit here and have 50 shots with you though, because my problem was the same. I didn't drink much, but when I drank it all, you know, and I drank everything that was around, you know, and I don't have much self-control when it comes to drinking. So I just don't do it much. You know, I enjoy it a lot, and I let my hair down just a little too much, I guess, because I hadn't wrecked a scooter in Atlanta, but you know, so I can see why. You know, what year was that, by the way?
Let's see. That would have been 2019.
And you know what? The crazy thing about that is they've started implementing rules, a lot more strict rules since 2019, because there was a bunch of people getting hurt, getting drunk on this thing.
Yeah.
And you might be one of those stats on there, you know. The crazy thing is that was just part of your life. And I think that people think, I think me and you were talking this the other day, you know, for a long time, man, I just felt like I was a loser, you know. I felt like I couldn't talk about this type of stuff because people would look at me different, or people would feel some type of way about me. But the truth is, man, we're all people, and we all go through shit like this. It doesn't matter if it's alcohol or freaking too much food, or, wasting too much time on video games or whatever. It doesn't matter. We all have things that we waste time on
For
and that we
sure.
change about ourselves. It doesn't have to be an addiction. It doesn't have to be whatever. But I think that the people that realize where they want to get better at in life and start to take action towards that, it inevitably end up happier. And the truth is, I can talk about it, and it helps me, because when I talk about it, it always does. Sometimes when we talk about it, I learn shit about myself.
Mhm.
And to hear other people's stories going through that, because I mean, you say you had a problem. To me, it just sounds like you're a freaking army guy. Uh, that was our regular group, and I don't know how a lot of my friends deal with it, but I do have a lot of friends that have completely quit all stuffs in life. And I have a friend in Texas, man, one of my best friends. He had to quit his job from Airbus because he needed to get right. And that's a huge deal, man. You quit a job with the company, and he'd been there for almost 7 to 10 years. He had a good name, and he decided to step out to get himself right. And he hadn't worked for almost a year and a half now, and he's still getting right. But there's no amount of work that he'll ever do or anything that will make him feel more pride and more gratified in his life than what he's doing now. And
Right.
I have so much respect for him. I have so much respect for you, and for anybody who is able to come up and out of that rut of being controlled by something that you don't want to be controlled by anymore. I think it's fucking awesome. And
It is. It's cool as hell, and it's the one thing that probably should have been a warning sign is like when you get rid of one thing like drinking, that was my hobby, and you start doing other stuff and you have that addictive personality, then you pour everything into whatever it is that you're doing. So like with the art stuff or with the music. So like the guitar, I started playing the guitar for like 3 hours a day. And it's the same thing because that's just my personality, right? And I'm like, whoa, now I'm replacing the alcohol with guitar, and then it's art. And well, shit, now I'm gonna focus on art, and I can get good at it. Like whatever I do, that's what people have always said, man. Like whatever you put your mind to, you're good at it. I joined this stupid friggin' dart league back in when I was working in my national flight days. And I had never really played darts, but I liked it. And so I paid to join this thing, and there was prize money. So every Saturday and Sunday, I was at the bar in the morning when they first open at like 9, and I'd have my quarters, and I would just sit there and practice. And pretty soon I won the league for that year. And it's like, cause that's just my personality, And so there's a lot of good that comes out of it. If you have that type of a personality, you just need to be careful that you're not, like I tell the doctor, like if I have to go to the doctor and they want to prescribe something, I have to let them know, or the dentist, I should say, because I had $5,000 that shit cost me on that fucking scooter when I knocked my teeth out because I had to have a new bridge put. Dude, it sucked. And so, I tell people when they give me that stuff, like I'm not going to take that. So don't even write the prescription for anything that's crazy. I'll just stick with Tylenol or whatever. So, yeah. You just have to be self-aware, but it's good. I mean, like you said, you learn a lot about yourself, and you just kind of become more and more at peace with who you are. And, it's no big deal. Like, I'm not the guy that's like standing there counting the number of drinks somebody has. I don't give a shit if people drink. Exactly. I just can't do it. And I just tell, hey, like I'm allergic to it. That's essentially what it is for me. So I'm more than happy to stand there and smoke my pipe or smoke a cigar, and as long as you can tolerate that, then I'll stand there and watch you drink. I don't care. And then I'll be up doing push-ups and sit-ups at 5 a.m. when you're still feeling like shit, so
exactly. Yeah, that's one thing that I don't miss about drinking is the massive hangovers, man.
Oh yeah, it's the worst.
You wake up, you're like, oh, I need a shot to prime this freaking hangover, and it's just a vicious cycle. And like I said, man, if you're out there and you drink, I have no judgment towards you. But I mean, if you're drinking and every time you drink, something's fucking going wrong, you might want to fucking look at yourself in the mirror and figure out what you need to do to change that. I think if everything that's going wrong in your life ties to your alcohol or your addiction, maybe you should take a look at it. I'm not going to judge you or anything. I'll be right here to help you. And people like myself and Andy, we're all out here. and we're all willing to help you get right somehow, any way that we can. I mean, I can't help everybody, but shoot, I can sit here and talk to you, and I can tell you some crazy stories, and they might not change your mind, but I mean, I'm here for support, and people like Andy and his. I really admire your transparency there. A lot of people hold this type of stuff in, and nobody knows that they've been through this type of stuff.
Right.
And I'm super proud of you, man. You're out here killing it. You fixed that up, and dude, you're out here freaking running a business and kicking ass and taking names. I really like the fact that, dude, it's crazy how many people, like fucking whenever I talk to you, you're like, oh, I talked to this guy and this guy over here. And that's like, shit, man, how many people you know? But I mean, that's your whole app. So
Yeah.
that's your deal, right?
No, yeah, it's same to you though too. I mean, you've been kicking ass and growing, and that text message I got that I put on LinkedIn of your new van, and like that's the kind of stuff. I mean, it's just badass. I mean, to go from, and obviously people know who you are at Stevens and other places that I do. They know you and they have a ton of respect for you, and that you went out and took the leap, man, because it is not easy, by any means. But yeah, it's awesome that you're doing the same thing. It's cool as hell, and the people, the connections you'll meet. And I don't know about you, but I said, well, if this whole thing folded and MRO Insider was no more, I have so many connections in aviation that I would probably be able to get a job tomorrow doing something because of the reputation that I've built for myself,
Right.
and being honest and telling the truth,
Yeah, for sure, man. And people respect that. And
Mhm.
people when they see what they get, they're a lot happier than just hiring some random dude that they don't know and then figuring out that they're a piece of shit and they don't want to work. And
Mhm.
they're nothing but a liability, and now we got insurance claims and all this. I mean, that's just crazy. So
Right.
I mean, I would hire you in a heartbeat. So not a problem. Congratulations on hiring Sarah.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I talked to her. I actually invited her to be a guest on the show, so that'll be happening soon.
Awesome.
Pretty excited about that. She's got a lot of spunk and a lot of enthusiasm, and I think she's going to be able to help a lot of my listeners too. But yeah, Andy, how can people find you on your social?
Yeah, probably. One of the best. I like to connect with people, believe it or not, on Facebook because I don't have like skeletons in my closet to hide. So I'm connected with a lot of people on Facebook, and then LinkedIn, of course, is a good place to see stuff. And then yeah, you can visit MROinsider.com. There's stuff in there to download. You can download the app at the App Store, and just reach out to us. I try to emphasize how open we are to talking to people. And so, if you're a provider, a smaller mechanic, an owner operator, like you can call us and we are always there to answer questions. We are not some giant machine. There is no automated answering service when you call where you have to push numbers. I mean, you can call and talk to Perry or Craig or myself or Lindsay or Sarah or whoever it may be. And we're always there to help out. So I'd say LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm on Instagram. You can follow my art shit on Instagram and see my shitty shit that I try to sell.
What is your I want to find that because I'm on Instagram like crazy. So
I think it's Andy Nixon art is
okay,
my username or
I'll
something
put
like
them in the
that.
footnotes and make sure that all this stuff is on there because
Yeah.
I love aviation art. My wife hates that I bring home parts that are bad. That I've got a shed full of old ailerons, props, just all kinds of stuff, cracked windshields,
That's awesome.
stuff like that. And my wife absolutely hates it. So if you want any of it, let me know.
Well, will do.
I'll give you some of it. But Andy, super grateful for you to be on my show, man. Thank
Thanks
you
for having me, dude.
for coming.
It was fun.
We'll have to do this again
Oh yeah.
in the near future. I like your train of thought. And hey, if you're out there and you're a maintenance vendor, you're a small time guy, or shoot, even if you're a big time guy, it doesn't matter. MRO Inside takes all. They're not biased. If you are out there, they're trying to help the customers find vendors, and if you're a vendor that can provide, then you should definitely look into getting on the set. Andy,
Absolutely.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you very much for coming. If I have one more question for you before we go, and I want to ask this to all my guests. If you've got one piece of advice that you'd like to leave to people on the show, what would that be? Or just success in life or career or whatever. What's one thing that you could say that you feel would be important to say? Or
I think that's a good one. I use my patience as a virtue thing, but I would say that, and this was true for me, and it's been true for my wife and many other people, is that if you're not enjoying what you're doing now, like every single day when you wake up, if you're not excited to, go to work, and of course we can't all be, but if there's not like a purpose more than just getting a paycheck, like it's never too late to go find something else, or figure out what you want to do and what the next chapter is going to be. Like, you do not have to stay where you are, and that would be my biggest thing. Like, life is just so, and being 38 now and trying to be spiritual and stuff, life is just so short that I just don't have time to waste. I don't have time to waste on negative people. I don't have time to waste on doing things I don't want, like you said, with customers. Like, why I don't need to put up with customers like that, so I'm just not going to. And so that would be my advice. It's just never too late to open another chapter, and you should do it if you feel like you need to. Away you go, and you'll be much happier if you do that. You know what I mean? And especially now with Sarah and all these shops that we have around the country now, they're all hiring. So if you're, chief inspectors, DOMs, Part 135s are looking for maintenance controllers that we talk to, A&Ps, avionics people. You literally can write your own ticket, right? It's like nursing was 5 years ago, right? You can go anywhere you want. So if you're not happy, friggin', do the damn thing, and let's talk and get you somewhere where you're going to be happy.
Yeah, take it from Andy, guys. Friggin', growing up, flying airplanes, went to racing boats, selling cars, ad fuel sales. I mean, and now this. So he's a prime example of that exactly what he just said. And so am I. So dude, that's a fucking nugget, dude. If you're out there, you need to go back and rewind that and listen to it again. Maybe write it out and put a highlighter over it, put it up on your mirror. It's never too late. It's never too late. You can always change your path.
That's right.
Awesome, man. That's a great piece of advice. Thank you, Andy. I appreciate you coming out, guys. That's episode 6. Here we go. Fucking excited about it. If you need to talk to Andy, you can find him on all the links. I'll have them all in the show notes for everybody. Excited. This is our first YouTube podcast. This will also be on everything online. And you can listen to it anywhere you want. Again, this is Andy Nixon, president of the MRO Insider. Innovator, fucking just all around cool dude. So yeah, man, I look forward to talking to you again. Thank you so much, Andy, and you guys have a great day.
See you later.